We welcome you today to the Spiritual Engagement Hour. This is 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we welcome you online, on site, later on demand. We are so excited that today is the first Sunday of Pridetide. We welcome you, and we're glad that you're here. Our theme today is prayers, poetry, and passion. Uprising in spirit. Uprising in spiritual as well as political activism, uprising to make a positive difference. This is an exciting time at MCCDC. We are a community of belonging. Our theme for this season is true colors. And we're thankful that today, with many from our writers ministry and many from our beloved community, you'll be hearing more of the colors and expressions, personalities, beautiful personalities that are a part of our community. We're grateful today that we are at the Memorial Chapel of MCCDC, and one almost entire wall of the space is a space where our saints reside, a great cloud of witnesses, and from them we feel great support. Again, we welcome you. We'd like to begin today with a prayer, lighting this candle. This is a rainbow by many years that was made by one of the members of our community, handcrafted. Colors, because of the age of the candle, have faded just a little bit, not as brilliant. Yet, the brilliance is still there because it was made with loving prayer, loving hands, and loving compassion. In our community, the colors change, but they really don't fade. Continue to live close. God, we light this candle today, lifting our prayers, lives, poetry, stories, our passion to you. Or to hear our prayers. A little bit about the history of Pride and Pridetide. The history of Pride often is noted as June 28, 1969, with the Stonewall Uprising. However, there are many stories that precede that, including the founding Universal Fellowship of Metropolitan Community Churches. The very first worship service of MCC was in Huntington Park, California, on October 6, 1968. It was led by the Reverend Elder Troy D. Perry. There were 12 people gathered in that little pink house in Huntington Park. There was a representation of beloved community even there. Gathered that day included those from the Jewish tradition, those from really even agnostics. There was straight people, people identified in a variety of ways. It was a beautiful worship service that began the Pridetide of MCCs around the world. The music that day was recorded. It was the Mormon Tabernacle Choir singing for that first service via. So it was a beautiful day. It was a season of pride we celebrate. And then Pridetide is really the liturgic following of the Pride season. The liturgical ways that we worship and celebrate and get together. That banner has primarily been carried by MCCs. I'm not exactly sure when the term Pridetide evolved. It's one that's used at many MCCs and other churches as well, celebrating the season of Pridetide as part of ordinary. So again, we welcome you. We'd like to begin today. Jackie Lois, feel free to say a little bit about yourself and come on in, Jackie.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. It's been a while since I've been in the sanctuary, but I love the space. And I love to be able to see everybody and to welcome everybody to Sunday morning. I'd like to share a poem that I wrote. I'm not sure when I wrote it, but it was obviously about pride. And It's called Pride Poem. What, pray tell, are you proud of? Pride in humility, review, renewal, resistance, claiming pride on poetic license, mine. How do I offer pride after eating humble pie? Would you have had a slice? Can I call myself a poet and also be someone else in hiding? Can I be really proud about the things that others would not like or understand about being me? Can being proud about the things that others would not value protect my soul from shame? Can you be proud about those parts of you that others would find bad about you? What defense might I now have for being so proud of saying no, being Black, of loving another woman, of letting people down, of so disappointing, of so not letting people think good things about me that they assume are so not true? Confidence, courage, resilience, the moral kind, make me so proud of being me, pleasing to myself, pleasing to my God. Rather pleasing someone I do not know, someone I will never see again, or someone who raised me to be in their image, even when I am not. We need pride in those areas where we have already so much shame. Thank you for letting me share my pride poem with you on Pride Time. It's June. I hope you hit all of the spaces that you need to go. Stay home, go to a parade, watch a movie. But this is Pride Time, and it's a pride poem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Any responses? The honor you shared today, poetry. Any thoughts that touched in you would like to share today? I hand over my heart because it touched my heart. I want to honor it. Any thoughts?
I thought it was particularly touching, Jackie, that you talked about um, the differences between being trying to satisfy people around you or people who you may never see again versus kind of being true to God or true to yourself is a way I interpreted it. I think that's a challenge for some of us, me included. And so I think that's a great, I found that bolstered my confidence to be true to myself, not to be mean to other people, but not to care quite as much of how I might appear in groups and be more true to myself if I ever am challenged in those places. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd second that very much as well. And I wanted to also just say, I think there's so much beauty that you evoke there in terms of understanding that God gives us these gifts to carry with some pride in a whole way, not in a way to lord it over others or any of that nonsense, but just simply to be grateful for the gifts we've received and to show them.
Yeah, I come in number 3 in noticing how that reference to the other that doesn't matter, um, you know, resonated, and at what cost to us if we make that other, the criticism and the negativity and the identifying, the box making, matter. What cost is that to us? So it's very introspective. It caused
Yes.
introspection in that respect. So thank you.
Mhm.
Like, I want to thank all of you for listening to me read. Some of you who've known me for a long time know that me reading my poetry out loud, this poem actually ended up, in the book that I published
Yes.
of poetry. This is huge for me. But what I wanted to say about Spiritual Engagement Hour and reimagining church is that this is church for me. What we're doing right now, being able to be vulnerable, to worship, and also to be able to talk about how we have evolved over time. This poem is a time poem. My mom used to say, a poem stands on its own. You don't have to explain it. So I hear her like chattering in my ear. I say, Mom, shut up. Just sit down a minute. I'm trying to talk to these people, But that is true. A poem stands on its own. But I feel here with you all, my spiritual family, the folks that I engage with, whether it's today or back when I wrote the poem, or someone who's going to read this 10 or 15 or 50 years from now. I want to be able to tell you that we evolve over time. And the God that I knew that I was when I was 5, and the people who introduced me to God also accidentally told me that being prideful or boastful was on one of those categories of sinning. You should, hide in the corner. Don't be boastful. Don't be proud. That is bad. And now, to be in my 7th decade, to see that pride, like many things, is on not just an evolutionary path, but that you are at different places at different times. And when I read the lectionary for today and I did my spiritual reading, one of the things I was struck with is I was struck with some folks that were in Tennessee, and I won't bore you, but this is spiritual engagement. That for some people, going to a pride parade or waving a rainbow flag is not only a deal breaker, it's like a death sentence. And I want to say to you that only you know what pride looks like for you. But what I'm inviting you to do with the strength of my spiritual community is to be able to say is that this is between you and the God of your understanding, what it means to be fully whole, wonderfully made, created by someone, something, by nature, by whatever you believe it to be, that made you perfect and wonderful, absolutely right now in this moment. And if you have that conversation with yourself or with the God of your understanding, what a gift that would be today, that is the pride that you feel today. So thank you, Amen and Ashe, and I just love you all to death and to life. And thank you for giving me a space to grow spiritually and to feel pride and be able to say, no, I don't think so when I don't feel like it. That's nice as well.
All right, Dr. Robin, you brought a gift for us today. We invite you to share your gift. Greg, after Dr. Robin, we invite you to share your gift.
Well, I want to echo what Jackie Lois just said about the, oh, here I got it. Well, I guess I'm unmuted. What Jackie Lois just said about this community and about our ability to grow with the guidance and help of God and our spiritual community. So I appreciate that very much. My poem goes back to 1993, I discover. And it took different forms over the years, and it's probably not as clear a direct pride poem as you might expect, but for me, it evokes pride in a very important and deep way. And it connects with my love of nature as well. And it's entitled, "The Purple Pansies Are Lovely This Year." Purple pansies sway in the breeze, bright faces turn to greet the sun. Sometimes I think sun turns to them, so potent the lure of pansies. My Michigan auntie taught me to shelter them well into November for bouquets to charm the table, their impishly sweet smiles pushing back wintry skies. In summer, auntie said, keep picking to have more. But in Virginia and Maryland, pansies are autumn and spring blooms, hanging on through warmer winters, but drying up in unforgiving summer heat. Wherever, picking purple ones is best, velvety sweet to charm the eyes, connecting to each divine, royal soul. Pansies are survivors because they are lovers. It may look like you only use your hand to pick a pansy, but it is your whole body. Your hand, the agent bonding you and the pansy, an ecstasy of eros to eros. The sweetest communion is when a pansy picks a pansy, making pansies together, pleasuring themselves, raising pansy worlds of delight. Acts of co-creation designed and blessed by God.
Amen.
Amen. Ashe. Oh.
Thank you for Greg shares. Just any place in you that was touched. I see a lot of smiles online and on site. So,
I loved it. In my garden last year, I'll look for it. I'm pretty sure it's this time. I planted purple pansies in the same pot with the Easter lilies. And so that's what was cracking me up. I said, oh, they're lovers. The whole idea about Easter and planting things together and purple pansies. And pansies is one of those flowers that you can eat. And if you can't eat it, I've been eating it, and you can put it in a salad. And,
It's true.
it didn't kill me, but just this idea of all five senses, the smell, the taste, the looking at the sun, and that I had actively planted them together just because I felt like it, So thank you. I like the pansy reference. That's it's fun. It's fun and it's beautiful.
Yes.
I'll try to find the picture to share with the lilies and the lilies and the pansies.
that, so we need to make a note. I made a note. I still consider having pansies as part of the traditions at Easter next year, along with the lilies.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My recommendation, Reverend Dwayne, is we're gonna plant pansies in big pots outside the church for the new
Yeah.
flower garden. I was gonna say I really love that, Reverend Robin. I don't have pansies in my garden, but there's one rose. It's more like a rose branch. It's not even a rose bush. And one rose grows on it and it's purple. And it's always surprising to me because everything else in the garden is either, I don't know, yellow roses or red roses. But this one trusted branch and it's kind of under something. It's weathered the storm, and it's this one, it happens once, and this beautiful rose happens, and I'm always happy it's lasted, oh my God, it's like 20 years, 25 years. So I love that you have a pansy over here picking roses. So that's what's going on. I don't pick it. I let it do its thing. Yeah, that one stays on the branch.
Well, I just thank you both for that. I just wanted to make a quick comment. This grows out of a piece that was written by May Sarton. You may remember May Sarton a long time ago now. And she had a wonderful book called Journal of a Solitude. And she wrote a piece called The Purple Pansies Are Lovely This Year. And
Yes.
I got called a pansy a number of times back in the 80s,
Yes.
90s, as I came out and was more clear about it and open. And when I read that, I thought, oh, wow, oh, yes.
Yeah.
And so over the years, it has become more about the lives of pansies on a metaphorical state, as well as about those beautiful pansies in the garden. And of course, May Sarton herself was a lesbian writer, so you know, she probably got it too, I'm sure. Anyway, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, I really love the line of pansies picking pansies. That's it. And I love pansies too. They are great cold weather flowers, and they are tough. You know, the concept of what a pansy is weak and vulnerable, and you can just push them over. But pansies are tough, and they got to be tough. I love that thought.
Thanks, Greg.
I don't know who the poet is, and maybe you all can help me, but this idea of reclaiming a name that you were taught to despise.
Mm.
You know, I haven't been called a pansy. I'm sure I'm in the room with people who, you know, may have heard that. I've been called other things, but the idea for you to reclaim that name and the beauty and all of the qualities of something as for yourself, I think is another part of a spiritual journey, taking something that was meant to harm you, meant to hurt you, and you say, oh really? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna run with that. That's very proudful, full of pride to claim something.
And I think that's very true of the word queer over the last several dozen years. That was such an epithet. And it's like, kind of F you, we're going to make this a positive thing. I am proud of it and I am queer. And you take back the power that and reduce the negative power that word had. I think that's just kind of extraordinary how words can change. Sometimes deliberate, and especially deliberately, when people consciously, intentionally go out and say, I'm going to change the definition of this word. I think that's kind of miraculous, actually.
Yeah, and I would add that the reclaiming is immediately what I thought of as well. After that, and so I just really appreciate it, and I'm also really appreciating remembering how much I appreciate poetry. It's just very, very moving. So I really feel moved by that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and good responses, beautiful, beautiful poetry. I think we've got some future themes emerging as well. I think themes could be powerful. Hours to take this even further. So, Greg, what do you have? Gift do you bring?
Well, I will just call it a short writing. I'm not sure if it's a prayer or a poem or anything, but it's a few words gathered together. O Universal One, Show me the path you want me to follow. Help me know all my skills and all my weaknesses. Guide me to the way that I can be all that you know that I can be, and have that place be filled with loving people. But most importantly, when I am my full self, let that show your creation and love.
I really love it began with "Oh Universal One" because that's everything and all encompassing, and it's nature, it's people, it's the whole deal. So it just set the right tones. It created the right, I guess, the right opening for everything else that followed. I don't know why that struck me, but
It's wonderful.
I think it's my preferred name for God or creation or whatever this thing is. It seems easier for me to think of it that way, just something universal.
I concur. It's definitely a poem and a prayer, and I felt instantly in the room with you all and instantly with the divine. So whatever questions you had about that, it would be on my prayer category. Absolutely. Thank you. That was just so sweet.
Yeah, that certainly reflects my own sense about prayer. I mean, poems as a form of prayer. I so often encounter poems that I'm not sure the poets would even want to think about themselves or their writing as prayer, but it's prayer for me. And when I write a poem, it's a prayerful act. There's no two ways about it. It's an act of faith. Um, and it oftentimes doesn't have the easiest journey. I can struggle, and so on and so forth. And in fact, writing in general is always a form of prayer, from my way of thinking, because the words have enormous power with me, and I have to really think about what I'm doing with them, and what they're actually doing with me, because it's a conversation between me and those words that look like they're just on the paper, but no, they're not. They're in here and so on and so forth, and out there, as I think you alluded to very, very clearly there, Greg. So thank you. That was really lovely. Very much appreciate the invitation.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Oh,
No,
go ahead.
I was just going to say I added to the chat. It was Michelle Cliff, whose book and poem was about claiming the identity they taught me to despise. And the other thing I wanted to say about spiritual community and the safety that I feel here is like I'm going through this post-colonial or current colonial thing about the names for God, and how sometimes it doesn't bother me, but some days calling God something that I find difficult or puts me in a place that's not a good place. And one of the things that I've been able to do with my poetry and writing and spiritual conversation is to be able to say that to you all. And this idea about God is Lord and Master, and I'm not worthy. It's just like I can't do it. So offering me other ways and other names, the name above all names, what makes you feel close to the divine. Right now for me, it's not usually a person. And when it is a person, some of you that know me know that I speak to baby Jesus all the time. But this notion that God would be my Lord and my master, and that I would be a slave or a servant, is so not where I can reach God. So I'm appreciative again, Greg, for not your experiment, but for your prayer, calling on a God that I don't have any problem with whatsoever by that name. So such a gift to me this morning, this week. And maybe that is essentially for me so moving around pride. I can feel prideful about the name, the prayer. You called on that God? Okay, I'm right. I'm right with you, brother. I'm right with you. That's who's listening for me. So I wanted to share that gratitude for you, and also speaking to me about something that I normally I wouldn't talk about. If y'all say Lord Master one more time, I'm just gonna I won't be able to come to church no more. Today, I feel how nice is that to claim that name. So
I think we have a gift from Todd. I know Canute's brought a gift as well. Todd will receive your gift. Conversation, only conversation, and then it's brought a gift.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you for this moment of peace and serenity. So I wrote this yesterday. I'll share it with you. Barnstead, New Hampshire. Summer, most likely it's mid-July. I'm probably 13 or 14. I've motored out and set anchor in the middle of a tiny lake in a small 9-foot-long aluminum Sears rowboat with an outboard motor that works that day. Soon I'm being gently swayed from side to side by the almost imperceptible undulating waves that slowly push across the water, just barely lifting the boat up and down, back and forth, with me tucked down inside. The sun is hot and I'm happy. Lying there, I want to only feel idyllic and serene. But I will admit the metal skin on the bottom of the boat's a little cool because it's been in contact with the cold water of the lake. But then again, it's also wicked hot on the seats because they've been baked by the sun. But I'm soon as comfortable as I will get, stretched out and quietly just being there. After a while, a few bigger speedboats whiz by, not near, but close enough so that their wake sends much bigger waves my way, really making the boat rock, forcing me to hold on at times, even while I'm lying down. And I begin to wonder if a spider that sometimes makes its nest under the front seat will crawl up on me. So I keep one eye open at times, just to be sure it doesn't. But then finally, for a few long moments, everything is just right. The sun is bright, the waves are gentle again, and the soft rocking is nice. The boat feels protective, the sun gets hotter, and I feel relaxed and peaceful. No spiders. And for those precious moments, I'm glad to be in the middle of a lake with nobody around. That childhood memory floods back to me as I write this, and I pause a moment just to think about how wonderful that felt so many summers ago, and also how foolish it probably was too. An empty looking boat, assumingly no one around, just rocking in the waves in the middle of a lake. But I did feel safe out there. I love the idea of it and just making it happen, getting in the boat, not really telling anyone, but knowing where I was going and doing what I had set out to do. And yes, I also thought about the danger and the joy of it all, even back then. So eventually, sooner than I wanted to, I remember sitting up, looking around, blinking and squinting from the suddenly bright white sun sparkles that flashed and danced across the top of the waves. Going to New Hampshire in that lake in the middle of what felt like endless, never-ending summer months was indeed a blessing. It was an escape, an oasis from home where at that age I often endured the torment of taunts and the threats of violence that always seemed to hover from school all the way back to the neighborhood. I was forever wrestling and agonizing over my sexual identity, and I just wanted to be at peace, to not feel threatened or taunted, not to be bullied and judged. And so at 14, maybe I thought that just laying on the bottom of a boat in the hot sun with the gentle rocking waves calming me down, that this might be one place where I could just be me, be free from the hate, the dislike, the rejection that I too often felt was always imminent in the town where I grew up. I suppose you could say I was letting myself be cradled by the water, just floating, drifting some, having faith that everything would be okay, letting whatever was going to happen happen, but in a good way, being healed and comforted, held afloat by the water. That moment could have lasted forever, but the visit would soon be over, and I would once again be headed back home. I think about that 14-year-old me, and I wonder if I was able, what I might say to encourage me to be at peace with myself, to not let the ignorance and the hatred of adolescent homophobia overwhelm me, get the better of me. I'm not sure I would have listened, or if I did, if I would have believed or even trusted it was possible. But in this writing, remembering that memory, I'm telling myself now, again, knowing that life has and most assuredly will again sometimes bring rough times, rocky waves of challenge, various hardships will come at me, but I've learned how to hold on and to trust and to have faith that I will eventually find my way back to shore. Through prayer and faith, and living in love, we do find ways to be cradled in God's peaceful embrace, to be held in swaying arms, to trust that good things will happen, even when being unsure or floating adrift. James 2:14-16 says, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or a sister is poorly clothed, lacking daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, be warmed and filled,' without giving them the things that they need for their body, what good is that? So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead." So today I pray to God that we all may be blessed with the opportunity to love ourselves, to accept who we are, rejoice in how God made us, and also give the precious gift of love to someone else who is in need, to help them, to show up for them, and just be there. Be available for anyone who's feeling alone, who has sought refuge and comfort, no matter how well thought out that is or not, who's doing all they can to move away from times of trauma and rejection and fear and loneliness and violence, just because of who they love, how they identify. I pray that you can help yourself and them to find that anchor that keeps you afloat, and that you experience many blessed moments where it just feels serene and peaceful, and the only waves encountered are those of love and acceptance and joy.
Thank you.
God, I really like the part where you were, as you described, just laying in the bottom of the canoe and letting the waves kind of wash over you, not literally, but just kind of just being there. That was just very peaceful and calming and centering. I love that part of it.
Yeah, that's what I was after that day. It's like, can I make that happen with the spiders and the speedboats and everything else?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too found that very compelling, and I just want to say that I think at the same time that you were feeling that peace, and I certainly remember times in my own life when that was very up uttermost in my mind and heart, to find some way to have a little peace somewhere. At the same time, I noticed that the waves are still rocking the boat a bit. And so it's in some ways kind of relative, if you will, the speedboats and others going around and so on. But even when they're not, and it's quiet, life is still kind of doing a little, this kind of thing. And to me, that's a gift of the divine one, if you will, or whatever we want to call it, and to continue our ability to grow and change, and know that we are still receiving the energy that comes from Earth and all beings, that we're connected, in other words, even in those moments. And so I really love, I can just feel that image very much, and thinking to myself, gosh, I wish I'd had a thought about that when I was 14, because I could have used it too. And I think I was probably running more than I was lying down and trying to be peaceful. So good for you. Thank you very much. Beautiful image. Very much. Thank you.
Right, Canute, what gift do you have for us today?
I actually brought a gift that I did not write myself, but that's okay. It's a gift I found from someone online, and I'll share it with you. It's called an opening prayer for pride, and I took the liberty to change one word because it was speaking to my theology. But I will share this. This is from somebody at a Presbyterian church in San Francisco. God of wild love and extravagant inclusion, spirit of boldness and beauty, you are faithfully present in both the grit and glitter, and you are present here with us now. Awaken us to your dream for creation, a world in which every member of the human family is free to flourish whatever you have made them. Forgive us for the moments we have held back your ever-flowing current of love, dignity, and justice. Remake us into a people eager to see you in the faces, bodies, and expressions of all people. Remind each of us to step out of the shadows of our lives, shine fearlessly and courageously. Ignite the divine light within us to sparkle through the prism of our bodies and brighten every corner of us. Holy One, you call each of us beloved, each of us cherished, each of us desired, each of us sacred. So we give you thanks now and forever.
Oh, very nice. Wow, appreciate that very much, Knut.
Thank you. It was a prayer that also hit a lot of things that I found speaking to me, and like the grit and glitter of life.
That's the line that spoke to me too. I love certainly in this month we will see a lot of glitter, and that can kind of like, it's like squirrel. Oh, it takes your eyes away from it. That God is in the grit too. I love that line. That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
It was
I
like
may use it.
a description of the big embrace, that all is encompassed, all is all is held as precious and sacred. That those images that came to me.
Yeah,
I love that. I loved it. I loved you reading it. I loved looking at you. I miss you so much. And the shirt, the backstory on the shirts and the t-shirts is Knut is design central on t-shirt designs for Pride. And I think I probably have a drawer full of Pride shirts, and I wanted to share with Knut and the rest of you is that I don't wear them a lot. And it was probably a t-shirt that got me into Pride, but the shirt, and if you could definitely show the shirt that he's wearing, celebrating the love and pride, and to have what came out of your mouth while seeing you and seeing the Pride shirt. When people see you today, you won't have to say anything, nothing, but the purple rainbow heart, and knowing all that you've done, for us, and getting those images out there. You saved my life once again, and I just really love you, and I love the words, and I love the shirt, and thank you so much. What a heartfelt.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
I'll miss you here at the debate, but I know you'll be with us in spirit.
Yeah.
Oh,
And celebrate. I don't know if you all can see, but it says celebrating. If you all are not looking and you're listening, it says celebrating the magic,
Faith and pride.
faith and pride, and this idea that someone can see something and it can spur you to
yes.
wholeness and healing just by looking at an image. How cool is that? And the other backstory on the t-shirts is that poor Knut, the fact that he hasn't run from the building on getting consensus and agreement on how very Quaker model of, okay, let's all get together and agree on this image, and everybody says what they're going to say, and we need it at a certain deadline, and for people all over to wear the shirt or see the shirt and know that it came from a place of incredible consensus, faith, and pride. Can you have both?
Both.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Thank you. So rich. So many images coming through today. Do we have any gifts Yeah, I thought you might have. I didn't know if you were-
Ah,
So, well, I didn't do anything, but I just want to share like our experience. When I came out, it was like in 2000, so the generation before the AIDS epidemic, people died and so forth. But my generation, it was more about, it was a community and the clubs and the dance floor, that was like our church, our sense of like strength and camaraderie, because songs that we're playing was like was so uplifting, like songs like what have you done today to make you feel proud. Uh it was like, oh wow, I never thought about that, because we had so much obstacles in our way. And like when we're feeling down and whatnot, we would go to the clubs and then feel so much better because of that energy. And like, everybody was just like, we didn't, I can't explain it, but it's like, it was just such, I, I, I like it. It's like unspeakable joy. It's another song by Kim English. It's like, when she talked about her soul ascending, it was just like, is this heaven? Is this like what we're going to experience when we like get to heaven? Like, cause it's just like nobody care. Like, it's just like I said, I can't even describe for words, but also like Moving On Up was another song, like all these like gay anthems, whatnot. But it was such like, it was like a toolkit, for what we can do in our lives. Another song too, as well, is was the song "Oh Absolutely Not" by Deborah Cox, where she talks about, can I go to work in a mini skirt? Do I have to dress up in Chanel? So it was like these lines that were just very, very powerful and still resonates with me today. And so, and we also had like Queer Spoke on television as well, and the L Word. So that community, that pride, that's what I think of when we come about pride and church and spirituality. So that's all I wanted to share.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm right there with you. I'm still dancing and still feeling that connection. And there was a celebration of Sam the Man Burns, who's a house music DJ who died tragically a couple of years ago out in the park in Franklin Park in McPherson Square. And people call us house heads, and they would call you the same thing as you. It's people who are just connecting through the music, and I know you're struggling to find the words for it because there are no words for it. It's this feeling of this ecstatic joy, and I feel like I'm part of this tribe of people who dance in the music, within the music, with each other, but within their own space too. It's not line dancing. It's I don't know how to describe it, but it's beautiful and it's wonderful and it's peaceful, it's healing, it's all those things. So yeah, thank you for bringing dance into the picture.
Amen.
Thank you.
Very liturgical.
Struck by how you both have said, I can't describe it, but you are describing it. So you are describing it. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wanted to say for people who are saying they're not describing it, you're doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
I too was introduced to gospel and dance. I'm a generation previously, but I never felt anything like the gospel I felt in the clubs in New York. That's when I felt God, heard God, really redefined sacred music. And not only do you not have to talk and not have to know people, but dancing with a group of people from like 6 hours straight without sitting down, and to have people say that's sacrilegious, but for me to experience it as sacred, that was, thank you, Asa, that was great.
Well,
The music of our times.
and Asa, I want to say just quickly that I'm a little bit earlier than you. And so I came into New York from Boston, actually, where I came out. in the late 80s, and then was gone for a while and came back in the 90s. Of course, AIDS was all over the place. And so one of the ways we went to kind of get our collective and individual souls back together in face of all that was the clubs, was to go in there and dance, despite the fact that we also were mourning dear people, that we knew, that were our friends and colleagues and so on and so forth, as well as many we didn't know. So to me, and that's always been, well, I don't know about always, but for a long time has been part of our way of saying, as queer people, no, we're here, we're queer, get used to it, we're dancing our heart out because we feel the love. We want to share it with each other and anybody else who cares to get on the floor and dance with us.
Reverend Robin, that you really said it completely. There was one night after my close friend Floyd Smith died in the early mid '80s, and we'd just done his funeral, and I watched him die. But I didn't know what to do. It was that weekend, and I went out to a club, and I remember being on the floor and crying and dancing and shouting his name, and oh my God, it was so cathartic. It was so beautiful, difficult and beautiful all at the same time. But the music, and because Floyd and I met there, we was like a group. We would all meet, and that's where we knew each other from. Just like Jackie said, you dance with someone for 6 hours, and you see him the next week, and you dance for another 6 hours. And that you become a little like group, whatever. So yeah, I just remember that night and just crying and grieving, but dancing my heart out for Floyd. So thank you. Uh,
Well, thank you again, each of you, inside and online, and those of you who join us on demand. You've experienced a sense the gifts of this community of. I'm going to move back to this rainbow panel. Our time in culmination, closing, gratitude. We are thankful for the stories and the gifts that leave us together, unity in this season of Pridetide. We're going to share more of our coming out stories. We're going to talk about the rainbow saints who have gone before us. We're going to talk about those who help us to get over today because they got it. So we're looking forward to coming Sundays as we worship together through conversation and silence, our spiritual engagement. Also invite all of you to unified service at 2:30, where we'll be offering the theme and a variety of expressions. And we are so grateful. Any closing prayer thoughts as we it's going to be kind of a prayer that we create to you. Thank you, God, for the gifts.
Well, and I want to just offer a prayer of thanks for this new model that we experienced again today, this morning, in this spiritual engagement hour, of a way of being community and being with each other and experiencing the spirit and sharing that in very open and vulnerable ways. So I give thanks for that inspiration that I'm sure came from some divine source somewhere. To you, Reverend Dwayne and Reverend Kathy, whoever, just so grateful for the opportunity to be with you today again in this sacred space, made even more sacred by our sharing today.
So grateful for how we are connected. We're connected all around this realm. We're connected today from Detroit to New Jersey, DC, beyond. We are so grateful. And to help model that connection, note that connection, feel comfortable to place your hand over your. Remind us how we're connected, saints and this space, saints we carry it. We're thankful that some things beautifully described, yet beyond description. God, we thank you. That you are universal presence. We thank you. We thank you, O God, you divine, holy, rainbow. We open ourselves to you again and again. Gratitude for your many gifts. And shade and soul.
Yes.